Hi, everyone. Teresa Aker here from Success Diaries with Teresa Aker. It is my privilege today to introduce you to Captain JP McMichael. How you doing, JP?
Good. How are you, Teresa?
I'm wonderful. We came on today. I wanted to tell everyone that your title is Catalyst of Change Associates. So let's talk about how you got here and your journey and how you can help our viewers.
All right. I got started in this arena because I was a first responder to the Pentagon on 9/11 in 2001 and was down there probably about 10 minutes after the plane hit. And the following 2 years after that, I dealt with post traumatic stress disorder. My wife ended up leaving me because I went from being this like happy go lucky guy, was always kind of like the clown, joking around with everybody, to pretty much going home every day and locking myself in a room and not wanting anything to do with anybody. Everything from that day just kept repeating itself over and over again. And then that October of 2003, she had already been gone for 6 months. I had pretty much told everybody that she was either at grad school or working. Nobody knew that she had left. Lived in a small community, so my family was all in that same community. And in October of 2003, got up one morning, had just couldn't deal with stuff anymore. Got up, wrote my note, went out on a porch for a little bit, and then came back in, put my service weapon to my head. And as I started to pull the trigger back, I closed my eyes and I saw my wife. And I knew that if I did what I was going to do, that she would get blamed for it because nobody at that point knew she had left. And that is the only reason why I'm sitting here talking to you today. Truly believe that 100%. I don't know why I got that moment of clarity in that instance. Ended up getting some help. Ran into a buddy. I had to have shoulder surgery done because of a previous injury, and he was like, "Something's not right with you." He had worked with me at National Police Week a couple of times.
Okay.
We're getting ready to do this 3-day post-critical incident seminar that's run by a FBI profiler and two psychologists. We'd like you to come out. So I did that. They did EMDR on me,
Okay.
and that was the beginning of my healing journey. They ended up keeping me on as the law enforcement peer for a year. So every month we would do that 3-day seminar, bring in first responders. Anybody that was involved with 9/11 at the Pentagon was eligible to come in for that. So from there, I started speaking, started telling my story because during that time, I saw how sharing my journey helped other people. Continued to work on myself, but I don't think we ever get rid of post traumatic stress disorder. I think it lingers there. And if you work on yourself, you understand your triggers, you understand when you start to go down that path that you don't want to go down. So I've kept working on myself. I've had times where things have gotten bad, they've gotten better, but now I know my triggers. I know what works for me, what doesn't, and have been speaking all over the place. I actually, in 2017, I believe it was, started the company. And in 2019, I ended up writing my first children's book. I've done 5 of them since then, but the first book that I did was called Why Won't You Play With Me? Because my son, who was, I believe, 6 or 7 at that time, came in the room. I had just lost a buddy of mine to cancer, and about 6 months before that, lost another buddy to suicide, and was just having a pity party. And he asked, "Why won't you play with me?" And for whatever reason, that woke me up. So I wrote this book about conversations I had with him, trying to explain what I was going through in terms that a kid would understand. And the book was short, and so I ended up adding in the back like a workbook piece to start conversations between the parent and the child so they could talk about different stuff. I knew for me it was hard having those conversations, and especially answering questions he had, because he was like a 99-year-old trapped in a little kid's body. He would come up with these questions out of nowhere,
Mhm.
and I really had to stop and think about them. I ended up writing that book, did a few more after that, one on body image and anti-bullying. And then my daughter got upset that I had a book for him and not for her. So I wrote one called Daddy's Little Girl about the journey with the father and daughter and the little milestones that you hit along that journey. And then I got a service dog named Taz about a year before I retired in 2022. So my next book was The Adventures of Taz, that was done by Words Matter Publishing. And kind of like her little, she goes to the dog park and meets all these different dogs, but they're all shapes and sizes. And it was geared towards helping kids again understand, like, there's a lot of different people out there, but everybody's interesting, everybody's got a journey, that kind of thing. So Taz has gone around with me. She goes, I teach at Marymount University, so she goes to school with me. We've done book signings and things like that. She's been absolutely amazing. I got her gifted to me from two first responders and a first responder motorcycle group on the East Coast called Fourth Watch. And she is named after a firefighter from New Jersey that passed away in 2022 from cancer. So I've got to take her up and meet his mom and family and the members of that motorcycle group that's up there. And so she's really been a game changer for me.
Sure.
So she goes with me everywhere. I started working as well with Boulder Crest Foundation out in Bluemont, Virginia, and they work with military and first responders. So in 2020, I went to Bluemont, Virginia for 7 days. You live on campus there, and it's 4 cabins out in the middle of the mountains, the most beautiful place you ever see.
Right.
But they teach you 34 different modalities on how to deal with your stress and trauma. They teach you meditation, breathing techniques. Every morning you're up at 6 o'clock working out. You're doing poetry, journaling, all of these things that never would have crossed my mind to do.
Sure.
And it's a small group. You do 6 people group in person. So me and the other 5 guys that I went through with, I was the only one that was not a vet there. We still to this day talk every week. And I've gone through and done their struggle program, which they started a few years ago for first responders, just specifically for first responders. So the week after I retired in 2023, I went through that program and then started working with them as a guide for their program. So we do the trainings on site for different departments. And there's usually 2 of us that will do the classes, and we don't call ourselves instructors. We're simply guides that will walk along with you. We try to teach you the things that we've learned and talk to you about post-traumatic growth and kind of help you go through that, learn the different modalities, as well as starting to get people to share their stories and see where that helps one another. So that was an absolutely life-changing experience going through Warrior Path. And I knew when I got to the point where I was going to retire from the sheriff's office, that was the road that I wanted to go down. I wanted to be a part of that in some way, shape, or form, and was fortunate enough when I retired to be able to jump into start doing that. So I do a bunch of stuff between the teaching, doing that. I go out and do the public speaking. I'm working on 2 more books that'll come out next year, another Taz book, and then a book on that transition from the workforce and being in law enforcement to go into retirement and how big of a jump that is. We have a high rate of suicide in first responder world, and it is just as high with the retirement because a lot of folks lose that identity
Oh,
of
sure.
being a first responder. They don't plan a lot for it. And I had that same issue where I retired and I was like, oh, this is great. I can't wait to be done with this. It was getting real political. And I retired, felt great. And then a few days later, I'm like, man, what do I do now?
Yeah.
And I see that a lot with folks where I'm going out speaking now, where they're going through that same thing or they're getting close to retirement and they're thinking, oh, I'm just going to go sit on a beach and not work ever again. And the reality of it is most of us can't afford to do that. And it's great for a little bit not doing anything, but it gets old very quickly as well. So I just try to help out along the way. I don't want anybody to go through what I did years ago and the struggles I've went through. So I try to very basically tell my story, teach people some stuff here and there. I do little videos try to do them every day. I'm not that great about doing them every day, but I try to do them every day, like little 1-2 minute videos to just give people a little bit of motivation to get through the day and different strategies and stuff. So that's where I'm at now.
So first, I want to come back to you, Captain McMichael.
Mhm.
I want to say to you, thank you for your service. So that's the
Appreciate
most
that.
important. Absolutely. You're a wonderful person. To all the responders in 9/11, unbelievable. Where our heart goes to everyone who went through that. Absolutely. And in the whole world, we all experienced it in our own way of
Yep.
love and affection for everyone that was there. So that's first. I want to tell you that. And your service in any kind of capacity where you're helping people, that is number one. But after saying that, I understand trauma. I have had my own trauma in life.
Mhm.
Certainly, a lot of people have. I commend you for recognizing and understanding the need for your family need you and how you had to stay here. I wonder at that point, I know that you got a lot of help, and that's so important no matter what. And I don't even think it has to go to that level. I think everyone who goes through trauma truly should get some kind of counseling.
Yep.
I recognize that you got to the point, the depths of darkness, and I'm so grateful that you're here today. So
Thank
again,
you.
we thank you for that. I want to ask you from that, and as you move forward, you started this organization, you've done a number of things to help yourself. What I find fascinating is you were able to discipline yourself to all of these programs to fit the need that you had. If you had advice for someone who's going through trauma now, is there something specific right away you would say to them? So it could be as big as 9/11. It could be a loss of a loved one. It could be really any kind of trauma. I think everyone's trauma is different. What would be the first thing that you could recommend?
Just to remember that your journey, like you said, everybody's got trauma in their life,
Absolutely.
and it's at all different levels and it's different for everybody. And I think a lot of us, when we're going through stuff, we go, oh, mine's not that important. Look at what this person's been through, but it's different for everybody. I think one of the biggest things I found, because I was doing peer support work for the department for 20 years as well, I was great at helping other people and dishing out advice and telling people how to fix their problems, but I couldn't see my own in front of my face.
Sure.
Journaling to me was huge because it gave me that opportunity to write down what I was going through every day, take a step back, and then come back and look at it. And it gave me that perspective of looking at somebody else's issue.
Oh, that's
So,
interesting. So when you write it
yeah,
out, when you come back and read it, it's as if someone else wrote it and you're able
yep.
to, oh, that's terrific.
Yeah, it helped me immensely because I had people that I worked with that were like, dude, you're running yourself into the ground here and you're helping everybody else, but you're not fixing your own stuff. And when I started journaling, I was able to step back, like I said, and look at my issues and go, oh, okay, now I can see this is what I need to do. If you told me you were going through something, I could sit and go, oh, try this and try this.
Sure.
But for myself, couldn't see it right in front of my face. And I know for first responders, we always try to help people. So we're quick to help others so we can avoid dealing with our own stuff. And I think across the board for everybody, it's much easier for us to reach out and help other people or dive into work or into something else versus going, okay, I got to look at myself in the mirror and see
Sure.
I'm struggling with this. And it's just, if you're going through something, just take a step back, take a deep breath, and start to look at what it is that you're going through because you're going to get through it. I mean,
Yes.
I wouldn't,
Yeah.
yeah, I would have never, with 9/11, if you had told me 25 years later I'd be teaching at a college, writing books, I would have laughed at you. I would have never in a million years believed it. Things get better. This too shall pass. It's it's hard to see it at that moment when you're going through it, but it's just taking those little steps
Perfect.
every day.
Absolutely. You've come so far. You mentioned in the beginning you were sort of happy-go-lucky, and then something traumatic hit you like that. And 9/11 certainly was over the top as
Right.
trauma. So As you look at yourself now, have you regained that wonderful lightheartedness and that personality, or is it ever close but never really got back to that point? Can you tell us that?
I think when I retired, I got it back much more because being in law enforcement, you always have that mask on and you keep that very serious. You're always dealing with bad stuff. I think when I retired and was home more and trying to figure out the home life versus I knew the first responder work and I would throw myself into that to avoid all the schedules at home and dealing with the kid issues and things like that. So now that I'm back home, I have definitely started being much more lighthearted about things and looking at things in a different way. When I was working, I didn't have a lot of conversations with people outside of law enforcement,
Okay.
even people that live around me. I didn't do a lot of communicating with neighbors and things like that. And now I'm the one that's out there talking to everybody and checking in and seeing how people are doing. Taz is like world famous in the neighborhood now. I gave copies of the books to all the kids, and so they all run out and see her. And so it's been night and day since I retired. But while I was working, I was very straightforward to the point, didn't joke around a lot unless it was my small group of people that I was with.
Okay. Now, with your children, I'm very happy that you have a great relationship with them and you're
Mhm.
growing nicely. Are all the books on Amazon as well? Where can they get the books?
Yeah, all the books are on Amazon on my webpage, which is catalystofchangeassociates.com. There's a link to all the books. So that's the first three I self-published, and then Words Matter Publishing signed me and did the last two books that I did, but those are on Amazon as well.
Great. Now let's go back to the Catalyst. So it's Catalyst of Change Associates. Let's talk
Mhm.
about that. What
Okay.
exactly do you do and how can you help our viewers with that?
So with Catalyst to Change Associates, I started that in 2017 because at that point I was doing a lot more public speaking. I was also getting ready to put the first book out, so I wanted to have that in place. So, what I do with that is a lot of consulting work, public speaking. I've spoke all over the United States and Canada at different, whether it be first responder groups, mental health conferences. I've spoken at the World Conference on Crisis and Trauma in
Okay.
Baltimore for several years in a row, up in Canada for their critical incident stress management group. But I've also spoken with the Department of Justice on ADA topics. That was one of my jobs at the department, was being the ADA coordinator. So the Americans with Disabilities Act and
Thank you.
how that works with law enforcement, as well as I got into that realm with higher education, being a professor now. So I've worked on that aspect, and think the last one of the last things that I did, they actually brought me out to Idaho to speak to their bar association for their attorneys that were working on cases where they were dealing with a lot of trauma, because people think law enforcement, we see a lot of bad stuff, but they forget about the fact that you have these jurors that are coming in and attorneys that are seeing all of the same stuff that we're seeing.
Oh, sure.
And so one of the heads of the bar association brought me out there to speak at their conference, which was really interesting, getting their take on stuff. But a lot of what I do translates into every aspect of life, and it doesn't matter if you're a first responder. I've done stuff for kids because of the books that I've done for my kids, and then doing stuff at the college and things like that. So I think doing the consulting work and that kind of stuff has just, it covers everything. It's there's we like to think we're really special as first responders. We do a lot of stuff, but the stuff that we're going through is no different than anybody else would deal with trauma. So all of the modalities that we utilize, whether it's breathing or meditation, things like that, goes out to everybody. It works for everybody.
Perfect. Now, I want to put everything into the show notes. If somebody wanted to reach out to you right now, Captain, where can they go?
So on that website, catalystofchangeassociates.com, they can go there. All of my contact information is on there. I'm on Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, YouTube. All the JP McMichael is my handle for all of those. they can contact me through any of that. And I talk to people all the time from around the world that are commenting on the videos that I do every day and things like that. So it's always interesting to get to hear about other people's journeys. I love talking to people and getting to see what they've gone through and where they're at and that kind of thing.
You're an inspiration to absolutely everyone. I'm so
I
grateful that
appreciate
you
that.
absolutely, you are absolutely wonderful. I'm thrilled that I had you today. I have another question for you. Where do you
Mhm.
see yourself in 5 years, JP?
I am hopefully have a few more books out. I would like to be speaking full time. I took some time off when I retired. I went out on the road and was doing a lot of stuff. I would like to get back into doing that full time. And I absolutely love teaching. So I want to continue to do that. That has been something that kind of fell into my lap in the last couple of years I was working, but it has been a real love of mine. I love getting to work with the students. I had several of them that came and interned with me when I was at the department after they took classes. And I've had 5 or 6 of them that have gone on to become law enforcement officers as well as advocates for people's rights, different attorneys and things like that. So I've got to see these students that are coming into college as freshmen for the first time and get to really be a part of their journey and growing. And I put that health and wellness stuff into those classes as well. Like one of the little things we do every morning for class is gratitude. So they have little post-it notes and they have to put one thing they're grateful for to start the day,
Oh, I like that.
just to get that stress out of their mind and give them that time to think about something that is good, because we don't do that a lot. We focus on our stressors and we don't stop for a second to go, you know what? I got out of bed this morning. My parents are here. I have kids. I've got a puppy. I have the opportunity. I tell them every day, you have the opportunity to come sit in this classroom with people from all over the world
Yeah.
and learn from them. And that's something that you should definitely be grateful for. So that's really helped. I've got them to open up a lot about their struggles because I'm very open about mine. I tell them the very first day of class, I talk about my journey from 9/11 till now, the PTSD, the suicide attempt, all that stuff. I'm very open with them, and that ends up opening a lot of communication lines with them, which I'm super grateful for.
Oh, you're doing such a wonderful thing for everyone. What an
Thank you.
inspiration you are. Absolutely.
Appreciate that.
I have another question for you. I would be thrilled if you would down the road come back and do another episode with us. Would that be possible?
Oh, of course, definitely.
I would like to perhaps see my audience what questions they may have for you, and it would be
Sure.
my pleasure to have you back.
Oh, I'd love to.
Thank you. Honestly, it was my pleasure today. Everyone, this is Captain JP McMichael. I'm thrilled that you're here today. I'm going to make sure in all the show notes that you're going to be able to go over to his social media, YouTube, all the social media he spoke about, the web page, everything. I'll have it in the show notes. You'll be able to go over there and ask Captain JP all of your questions, and we'll definitely have you back. I truly appreciate your time today.
Greatly appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, my friend. And to everyone else, this is Teresa Aker from Success Diaries with Teresa Aker. Do subscribe to my channel. I appreciate that. I hope you're all having a great day, and I look forward to talking to you all very soon. Bye-bye.